Going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Complete Game Podcast. Today is going to be our first kind of interview one-on-one with one of my best friends, super successful college athlete, college baseball player, and he was actually the person who invented the name for the podcast. Here's CJ Gonzales. Excuse me, botched the name in the first minute already. CJ Gonzales, introduce yourself. Let everybody know some stuff about you.
Hey, Case, thanks for having me. I'm CJ Gonzales. I'm a coronavirus redshirt senior this year, and I'm a right-handed pitcher for East Stroudsburg University, and me and Casey played at N Trip together.
Yeah, so we started off together at N Trip, and we became really good friends. And it's been really awesome to see how much better you've gotten from when you started to where you are now as a senior, getting one more extra year. And it's been really cool to see. And I'm hoping we can get a lot of people to listen to this one. I think it's a really special one to get kids to realize how like hard work and those kind of things can take them, and doing all the extra work and competing amongst your team, and being so competitive that you actually end up like overtaking your teammates, earning spots, earning innings in your case as a pitcher.
Right.
Um, it seems like every year, or like almost every month, like you just kept progressing and kept progressing and kept progressing. We saw You see a lot of kids nowadays that just make like one big huge leap somehow. They make that huge jump and then they kind of fall off after that huge jump. But you just kept getting better and better and better and better exponentially, and it was really cool to see, because that's kind of how hard work is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a roller coaster. There's some ups, there's some downs, but it's supposed to be a steady increase over time. It's not supposed to be one big leap. Success and being a really good athlete and a really good baseball player doesn't just come from a little bit of hard work. It takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years, or even more than that. That's just college, but it takes a lot more than that just to be a successful athlete. So we're just going to go through where CJ started, and how he ended up where he is today. East Stroudsburg is one of the best D2 teams in the country. He said this year they had a real shot to go to the NCAA tournament and make some noise this year at the D2 level. They're in the same division as Westchester, right?
Yeah.
They were the national champions a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they play Westchester every year. It's a very tough conference, the PSAC, Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. It's an unbelievable D2 conference. You don't really see too many D2s up north. So that division and that conference is absolutely loaded with D2 talent. Mercyhurst is in the other side of the PSAC. They're a powerhouse. They were top 4 in the country in D2 last year. So everybody out there listening, just know that just because he's at a D2, I guarantee his D2 is better than a lot of D1s. I visited that school and I didn't want to go there because when I saw some of the kids, and I realized real fast that I probably wasn't going to play there because those kids are that good. Some of the kids that play at East Stroudsburg and in that conference are a hell of a lot better than a lot of Division I kids. So if you didn't listen to our last podcast with Ronnie Bernick, we were talking about choosing travel ball and choosing colleges. And D1 isn't always the right fit. Pick the right school for you. Go where you're going to play and go where you're going to win and be successful. And that's what CJ did. He went to a really successful D2 program, worked his way into the bullpen, and now he's one of their top guys out of the bullpen. And they're a really, really good D2. They're nasty. They have to be one of the best D2s in the country, and I guarantee they could compete with some Division I schools because that's how much talent they have. So we're just going to go through CJ's story a little bit, and hopefully he can kind of inspire some people, inspire some listeners, just to find out what hard work is all about. We're going to talk about what it means to work hard, what it means to compete, the mindset you have to have training, the mindset you have to earn innings and overtake your teammates, and not settling for just good enough, but to be better and to keep getting better. And no matter what numbers you have, just to keep getting better. So, CJ, starting off here, let's just talk about when you first realized that you wanted to be a college baseball player and when you first realized that you were good enough to play in college.
Yeah, well, I mean, just like any kid that loves baseball, I grew up just dreaming about making it to the big leagues. So obviously, you got to go through college first in some cases, but especially mine. In high school, I wasn't always like I wasn't the best in high school, but growing up, I was one of the best on each of my teams. So I knew that I had a shot. But in high school, it was more of a grind than I've seen in like the early stages. So I really kind of learned. I just try to be a sponge in my high school career, as far as learning from different people on pitching. So I honestly, I just planned on going to N Trip. I didn't know how good they were or anything. So
Yeah, and I think that's a huge thing for kids now. I try and tell all the kids that I work with and all the kids that I coach that the internet is such a huge thing. There's so many people out there. There's so many people that know what they're talking about. There's a lot of people that don't. So you kind of gotta sift through that stuff. But there's so much information out there, and ask questions. Learn from people that you know. I find it hard to believe that anybody out there doesn't know somebody that knows a lot about baseball. And if not, you can find somebody through social media or through anything online. So ask questions, Google stuff, YouTube, anything. If you want to learn a new pitch, if you want to break down your swing, go look it up on the internet. The internet's at your disposal. Almost everyone has a cell phone now or a smartphone. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of those resources.
yeah,
So
you really want to be a student of the game to
yeah,
progress.
definitely. Yeah, that's how you learn. So at N Trip, you were technically a walk on, right? Did you get recruited?
No, I actually recruited myself. I emailed Coach Kling a few times, and my high school coach did, and even my summer ball coach did. So, yeah, I was a walk on.
Just so kind of take us through the process of how to email a coach in the right way.
Well, I really heavily relied on my high school coach to do that for me at the time, but I mean, because I wasn't entirely sure, but I did find out his number and I contacted him. But for as far as getting recruited to the 4-year, the East Stroudsburg, I sent a lot of emails and kind of supplied video when they wanted video for the further schools. Obviously, East Stroudsburg is 5.5 hours from me, so it was pretty tough. Uh, showing the coach what I had to bring to the table. But yeah, you just want to be as professional as possible. Really get your name out there. Especially if your grades are good, you want to showcase that a little bit in what you have to offer the program.
Yeah, that's really, really good stuff. I'm glad you mentioned that too, the grades, and then just sending emails and sending video. The worst thing that a college coach can do if you send him an email, as long as you're very respectful, is say no or just not answer.
Right.
Which is fine. There's hundreds and hundreds of colleges out there. There's hundreds of programs. And, if you email your dream school and they don't answer, then so what? There's plenty of other schools out there. Send the emails. Don't be afraid to send an email. But if you're going to send an email, just be very respectful to that coach. Address them directly, or the recruiting coordinator. But we'll talk more about that in the future. But just to tell you what CJ did, just email the coach. Get your high school coach to email the coach at the school you want to go to. Give them a phone call, anything, just to get your name out there. Coaches have so many kids that reach out to them; it's hard to stick out. But if you email them, follow up email, it's like a job interview almost.
It really
If
is.
if you apply for a job and you don't hear back in a few weeks, you follow up email about it, and if they don't answer then sorry, it wasn't the right fit. But a follow up, respectful email. Get a hold of coaches in any way that you can. The worst they can do is say no. So just shed some light on the process of walking on at Niagara County Community College. Us going in as freshmen, They had just come off a World Series appearance, so the expectations were high. At NCCC now, Coach Klinger-Smith has built a huge powerhouse in the JUCO division, D3 JUCO, and now it's we got to go to the World Series. It's not let's be the best team in the area. It's let's go try and win a World Series now. And the mindset of the program has changed. And going in as freshmen, they just come off a World Series, and every sophomore was like let's go from day one. We got to go back. So let's just take us through what were your thoughts trying out for a nationally ranked JUCO team. Just go through whatever mindset you had, whatever thoughts you had. You don't have to be extremely specific, but just shed some light on that and talk about what it's like walking on or trying to play at a huge program like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had my eyes open, obviously, real quick. I wasn't actually aware at the time that I was trying to recruit myself to NCHIP that they made a World Series appearance. So I kind of took that summer and worked for and played some baseball. I mean, there's nothing different between that summer and any summer between all my years in high school. So towards the end, I started seeing some stuff on the news about Niagara County Community College making it to the World Series. Obviously, Christian Young and all the success that he had in that year. But yes, and when I went to the tryout, instantly my eyes shot open. I was like, wow, like it's the best kid from each school, honestly. And yeah, I knew that I had to step my game up, and I had to outwork them because, frankly, like I wasn't God gifted with all the talent in the world, so I had to work for everything that I've accomplished. And luckily enough, I was given an opportunity to get a spot on the team as a walk-on, and I was very grateful for that.
Did you have any oh shit moments like these kids are good?
Oh, absolutely. First day, I was looking up at people. Like, I mean, Christian, I haven't seen nobody in my high school was that tall. Like, it was insane. Just, I mean, everybody was bigger, faster, stronger than any high school team in the area. I mean, playing you guys, it's not on trip. You know what I mean? Like Niagara Wheatfield and Newport, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. So you show up the first week and you see Christian Young and you see a lot of those guys that went on to either be drafted or play in the MLB, or not the MLB, just Division I or any major college 4-year after that. Just talk about, I think this is huge for kids to understand. When you show up and kids are better than you, what's the mindset that you have to have? It's not a shit like these kids are way better, I'm never going to play. Like, tell us about the mindset that you had going in when you see kids that are better than you.
Yeah, you don't want to curl up in a ball because, I mean, that's a great opportunity as a ball player to learn from these guys. I went in with an open mind. I knew I wasn't the best on the team, and I kind of took a place on the team as just a teammate. And that's what I put first, was being a teammate over anything. And I try to absorb and ask as many questions as I possibly could just to better myself. I did a lot of research. I did a lot of training, finding what worked for me. And yeah, you just kind of take snippets from what you learn from each guy, just either watching or asking. But I've learned so much more with watching some of the pitchers that I've watched through the course of my college career. That's helped so much. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's awesome just to have. And then if you could just talk a little bit about, so you're learning and you're not there yet, but just talk about how, like, the kids on your team that are slightly better, like, what mindset do you have to overtake them, like to earn innings over them? Because in the fall and practices before spring season starts, it's all the innings are up for grabs. It's who's going to earn it. So just talk about how, even though those kids were better and you did learn from them, how you also had to compete with them.
Right. So it's just that killer instinct that you got. You have to have it. You have to want it. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to come to you. Nobody's going to gift you innings. Nobody's going to gift you their spot. So you have to, learn from them. But if you want to get to the next level, you just got to outwork them. And that's what I've lived by in these last 4 years and even part of high school. I mean, you got to put your time in the weight room. You got to do your research. You got to mess with mechanics. You got to do whatever you can to better yourself in that process. Because, like you said, from the fall to the spring, it's anyone's game.
Yeah, I know when I went in as a freshman, my first couple of weeks, I was really overwhelmed. And I was like, oh man, like I don't even know if I belong here. Like they just went to a World Series. These kids are really good. I was like, I don't even know if I belong here. Like I might get cut. I don't know what's gonna happen. Just I was physically not as big and strong as everybody else. My arm was weak. I didn't really have a power bat or anything, and I just kind of felt overwhelmed. At what point did you feel that you got acclimated and that you actually belonged? Because I remember one point, um, we were going to hit in the cages, and I carried like a tee and a bucket of balls or something like that, and one of the sophomores, one of the older guys was like, "Hey man, like I really appreciate that. Like that's pretty cool. Like thanks for carrying the stuff and like thanks for doing your freshman duties and just doing stuff like that." And after that, like that kid, I'm not gonna say who it was, but like that kid started talking to me more. And like once I started to get to know the guys on the team, I kind of felt more as though I belonged. So like when was that point for you? When did you feel like, all right, like especially as a walk on, when did you feel that you really did fit in and that you were supposed to be there?
Actually, shagging balls in the outfield. Between hitters, you always play catch with one of the stray balls that you find, and I just kind of started picking one of the sophomores' mind, and he really opened up and helped me with, I mean, mindset of being on that team and how he worked the year before because he had a year under his belt and what he did to better himself. So that's really when I started settling in is when he kind of enlightened me to the what to expect in the upcoming season and how to act if I don't have as many innings as I would like.
Yeah, so you kind of got taken under the wing by an older guy. You asked questions, you learned, and then so once you started like being more friends and better teammates with that person, it kind of started to branch into other teammates, and then
Right.
you start learning or you start meeting everybody, and then at that point you start to feel more welcome.
Exactly, and
So
that's
I,
what
I
I mean
think
about
I
being a
think
teammate.
kids, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, you need to be a teammate because if you don't feel comfortable on a team, I mean, you're not going to mesh well. You're not going to want to work as hard for the team. But if you're a teammate, you talk to everybody, and you know that you all have the common goal of winning a World Series, and you're all on the same page. You want to make each other better, and it just helps everybody in the process.
Yeah, for everybody out there that listens, I can't stress enough how much being a good teammate matters. Yeah, when you be a good teammate, you support everybody, you talk to people, you learn things. And what CJ said, like everybody's chasing the same thing. And when you can kind of bond with people over that, it really helps make something special. And if you're one of the guys that isn't working towards that, then you're just going to get cast out right away. So I think after the first maybe week or two, when we finally started to realize what was going on, that we weren't just there to play college baseball. We were there to win a national championship. We were there to do damage. We were there to do something special.
Make
And
some
I
noise.
think I think it took a few weeks to realize that because the first week of college baseball, you're like wow, I'm here. I'm playing baseball in college. Not everybody gets the chance to do this.
Shell shock, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I think for kids go that go to school their first week in the fall, try and just meet as many people as you can. Ask questions. The coach recruited you for a reason. Ask the coach questions after practice. Learn the plays. Learn everything as fast as you can, and just ask questions and make friends and uh, ask the older guys stuff. As a senior this year at Oswego, I, my goal in my last season this year, even though it got cut short, was all right, I'm going to try and help the team win, but how can I help everybody else on the team for the future so the program can be good for the next 3 years at least from the kids that I help, the younger guys. And I really stress how much being a good teammate matters. And just a little snippet here, just like CJ was always one of those guys on the bench cheering for his teammates. He was always being positive. Whenever he wasn't on the mound, he was always positive no matter what. His freshman year, he didn't get as many innings as he would have liked. And he was positive, and he said, all right, you know what? I'm just going to work really hard, and I'm going to earn the innings, and I'm going to be a good teammate. I'm going to support everybody because we all want the same thing. But at the end of the day, he worked hard, and he just wanted those innings more than other kids. And it showed. It definitely showed because as a freshman from fall to the spring in freshman year, he started passing kids. And it was because he worked hard and because he was a good teammate. And when you're a good teammate and you do things like hustle and you're always the loudest one on the bench and you're staying positive, everybody on the team notices that. Every coach notices that. And a lot of kids today think coaches don't realize or understand what's going on. But when coaches understand and see everything, coaches know what's going on the bench. Coaches know who's in the game. I remember all the time, Kling used to come in the dugout, ask a random kid what the score was, what the count was, how many outs, just to keep everybody in the game. And if you were one of those kids that knew what was going on all the time, he knew he could trust you to get in the game. So I think that's big too. Going forward, next question. So first you made the team, you got better and better, you kept earning innings. And then your sophomore year, you became a starter in our starting rotation, in our top 4 weekend starter. Then you transitioned to the bullpen a little bit, and you became a real bullpen asset. Now you're a huge bullpen asset in a real powerhouse D2 school. So just talk about your training mindset over the 4 years and how you got progressively better instead of that huge leap like we were talking about earlier. Like that huge leap doesn't happen. Like that doesn't happen for everybody. That's just, if you see one kid that makes a huge leap like that, that's not really normal. That's an outlier kind of thing. So just talk about how you got better year by year. Because your first year, when you came in, you were what, 81, 83?
Yeah, that's max.
81, 81, 83. You threw strikes. You had good off speed. And then the next year, even by the spring, you were 3, 4, 5, maybe six by the end of the year. And then sophomore year, you're 5, 6 sitting, and then you're up to 7, 8. And then your junior year at East Stroudsburg, you're 88, and then you go play summer ball in a great summer ball league. What's the name of the league? Coastal Plains League, probably one of the best college baseball summer leagues. And he was 88. He threw 90 a couple times. He popped 92, 93. But it wasn't 81 to 92. It was 82, 81 to 83, and then 3 to 5, and then 5 and 6, and then 6 to 8. So just talk about how, like, what's the mindset you have to just keep plugging away, because you don't always see results right away. It's a long process to see results. So just talking about like staying on the right course and that mindset of how you progressively get better as opposed to a big leap.
Right. So from the beginning of my freshman year to the end, we didn't really radar gun a whole lot. So I did feel like I was throwing harder. So I was about 83 to 85 range. So that was good. But at the end of the year, coach kind of sat us down at the end of the year meetings and said I kind of had to work on my physique, get a little bit stronger. So I took that to heart in the off season, and that's what I made my entire summer about. I just grinded every day, day in, day out. I grinded. I ate right. I lost weight, and I gained it back in muscle. So I show up in the fall, and I didn't train the right way. I'm not going to say I didn't train the right way, but I trained maybe a little too hard. So I came back in the fall a little sore. I didn't have a great tryout. 2 weeks later, I got the tryout. Actually, I was 79 to 83,
Your
which was
freshman year?
no, sophomore year. That's how the
Oh,
tryout
okay.
was. So I was 79 to 83 in the sophomore year after that summer that I grinded so hard, and which broke my heart right away. But I knew that my arm didn't feel great that day, so I sat down with coach. I said, "Listen, I know what it looks like, but I've been grinding." He said, "I could tell. So like you got a few weeks to prove yourself." So I again took that to heart, and I hit the weights 2 times a day, and maybe a little too hard sometimes, but yeah, I got my velocity up to 86 to 88 in about 2 weeks of just grinding and getting more flexible and eating right and sleeping right. And
Yeah,
yeah,
and I wouldn't consider that a big jump because you knew you had that in you.
right. I wouldn't know
Yeah,
that. Yeah, that's
yeah, like that at 80 to 88 jump, that doesn't happen. You knew you had it in you. You worked hard, like you had the arm strength for it. Just whatever that particular day, the results just weren't there, and
yeah.
that's common.
It wasn't an overnight sort of thing. I mean, I was 85, 86 towards the end of my freshman year, but I knew that I had it in me because I've been training hard. I got more flexible. I got stronger. I got more athletic. So I knew I had it in me. I was throwing, and I just kind of kept training and trusted the process. That's the golden ticket right there, is trusting the process, and then you see results. So yeah, I did that, and then I kind of rode that out, and my training kind of plateaued in a way, and um I just kept grinding. That's basically all that I've done throughout my college career is grind.
Yeah, I think you're the perfect example of the process over results mentality because everybody should be process over results. If you do things the right way, it's going to end up good for you in the better. If you take shortcuts and you cheat and you do those kind of things and you skip workouts, the radar gun might look good in the winter, but when the games start and you stop working out and your body breaks down in the season, your velo's going way down.
Exactly.
And I think by the spring, your freshman year, you kind of understood that what I'm hitting on the gun in the gym right now isn't as big of a deal as what it's going to be during the season because a lot of guys on velo day will skip the weight room and they won't do recovery and things like that because they just want to throw as hard as they can and get out. And I think you're a perfect example of that of just trusting the process and but really buying into I'm gonna warm up the right way and I'm gonna do J bands and I'm gonna do what I need to do. I'm gonna throw. I'm gonna throw my bullpen or whatever it is. I'm gonna recover the right way, whatever that may be for you, and you're gonna still get your workout in no matter what. And that I think that was huge that you finally started to realize like it's not what my velo is on this day doesn't
It's
matter
more
because
consistency. Yeah.
but what my max velo on this day isn't a big deal as what my consistent velo is and what my velo is going to be in 3 months when the season starts.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. And I mean, you're going to see the spikes in the guys that kind of slack off, and you're going to turn your head real quick like, "Whoa." But I mean, you wait it out, and like you said, the breakdown hits, the fatigue hits because they haven't been training and their arms well rested, but they're not going to be as consistent as you will in the long run.
So you show up, you do your whole warm up, you throw, your velo isn't great that day. You do your recovery, you do your twice a day workout, you're eating right, you're doing all these things to work harder than everybody else, and someone gets on the mound that does absolutely nothing and throws harder than you. How do you take that? How do you approach that scenario?
Well, at first, it just kind of like takes the wind out of you. You're like, "What am I doing here? Like, how is that fair?" But in the end, you just got to take a step back. Some people are more talented. They're blessed with more God-given talent than you. So you got to resort back to trusting the process. You got to keep grinding. And in the end, I mean, if you're dedicated enough and you become a student of the game and learn enough, then yeah, you're gonna surpass those people because you want it more.
Yeah, I always tried to be like that. I always felt that way, where if someone that didn't do anything was doing better than I was, it's like, all right, then I'm not working hard enough.
Right.
No matter how talented they are, if no matter who it was, if they're hitting 400, going 4 for 4 every game with four singles, then it's like, all right, well, I got to get in the weight room again after the game because I want to go 4 for 4 with four doubles and beat that kid. There can always be, you can always be better. And I think when you run into kids like that, which you always will in college, you're always going to run into kids. And even in high school, mostly in high school for the most part, you're always going to run into kids that are going to be better than you, that don't work as hard as you. But I think the most important thing is to just trust that process, keep working out, keep doing things the right way. And eventually over time, you're going to pass that person and you're going to get better than them because you trusted it, and they're going to drop off. I trust me, just whoever's listening, please trust that. We both went through it. We were both freshmen in a great program who didn't have big size. We didn't throw hard or have a high exit velo or any of that stuff. And once we realized that we were going to get innings by working for it, then that's when our careers really started to take off. In that winter of freshman year, I think we found out on the team who worked hard and who didn't. And we started to see slowly over time that we started to pass those guys. And that was really cool to see that all the hard work pays off. And it's hard work paying off. It could take months, it could take a year, it could take 2 years, it could take who knows how long, but it's going to pay off. It really will. Please just keep working hard. And if someone's better than you, just work harder. If you're a guy that works out every day, 7 days a week, you do your throwing and your recovery and your bands, and as a hitter, you do your hitting and you get your swings, and someone's still better than you, then hit twice, work out twice a day, do whatever it takes. Go home and work out and do push-ups before bed and do sit-ups before bed. You can always work harder. You can always do more. And that's really why I wanted to have CJ talk about his process so far over his 3 or 4 years in college, because that was always his mentality. It was like damn, my velo wasn't where it was today, or coach is telling me like my body's not where it needs to be. But it was like let's go. I'm getting in the weight room after practice because I didn't have a good practice, and I want to be better than the guy next to me, and I want to be great. Like I want to do big things. Like you wanna probably get drafted. I would assume. You're at a great D2 school. You're grinding. Like you gotta work hard for it. And that's a huge thing. That's why CJ's where he's at today, at a great D2 school and one of their top bullpen guys. And he was 79 to 83 as a freshman, and now he's throwing 88 to 92. He's sitting 88. And he's touching low 90s every now and then and all his stuff is sink and tail and run and sliders, and it's not just a straight 90. It moves and tails, and it's huge to take away where he started to where he is now, because he worked for it. He worked so hard for it. And I want to talk about some of your training stuff. When you started to really see results, I think I just remember you in the weight room doing some kind of like unconventional stuff. Like you weren't just, all right, I'm going to like bench squat, deadlift. You like downloaded some app.
Oh yeah. The metronome.
The metronome app, and he was doing explosive. Everything he did was like explosive. It wasn't just like normal conventional lifts. He was doing like explosive stuff. and resistance stuff and things along those lines. Just kind of talk about that and like training like quick twitch muscles and what you did. Because personally, I've never really seen that. Like I've never seen that stuff before, and it obviously worked for you. It kind of shot up your velo a little bit from like 85 to 88. So just kind of talk about that, like your training routine. Like talk about like kind of what you do on a day-to-day basis, what your workouts consist of.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, training plateaus happen as well as velo plateaus. So to break through them, you gotta kind of trick your body and hit it with something new. So I was doing research, I was looking on a bunch of stuff. I just kind of floated along the fast twitch muscles. So with fast twitch muscles, it's very explosive movements. It's not slow and heavy. It's more explosive movements like jumping, like plyometrics and stuff like that. So yeah, the big lifts got me more muscular and strong, but I didn't really see a huge spike in my velo, and I kind of started at a standstill, even though my weightlifting was progressing. So I took a step back, and I downloaded the metronome so I could work on more power movements. I obviously it was going to be controlled like on a machine or whatnot, but yeah, I did that, and I kind of progressed from there. I kept learning about more training techniques using, cleans as far as deadlifts with a pause, like eccentric movements. That's more to gain muscle, but I mean, anything really. Like I just try to attack my body in as many ways as I possibly could, and it ended up paying off because the fast twitch muscle started to develop, and I saw it in the velo.
Yeah, so no one exercise is going to be a perfect fit for everybody.
Right.
What are kind of some other things that you did, even pitching wise, that maybe you don't see a lot of other people doing that kind of helped you?
I wouldn't say it was anything extremely different, but I am a big believer in throwing every day, whether it's low intensity or high intensity, but you never want to go high intensity too often because that's when injury occurs from overuse. But yeah, just kind of moving more efficiently. I think that's a huge part of the low intensity days because no day is a day off as far as I'm concerned. If you have a ball in your hand, then everything counts. You don't want to develop bad habits whether you're tossing with a buddy or not, because the little things that they do matter. So yeah, I mean some drills that I picked up here and there, but nothing crazy different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just staying on it, staying with the process, like you said earlier, and doing it every day. I like what you said about having to do something every day, or there really is no days off, even if you're not throwing. Were you one of the guys that played catch after the day you pitched?
Oh yeah, I was a believer in not airing it out, but getting air under the ball, if that makes any sense. More of a arc, just to get the arm loose, get it recovered. I mean, you never want to rip down fastballs from 100 feet away the day after. No matter how good your arm's feeling, you always want to get that recovery toss in. And that was a big difference actually from being a starter to a reliever, because that took me by surprise, that transition there too. Um, it's just a totally different routine because you have to be ready sometimes the next day. So you really have to train your body in the off season, and I mean the winter bullpens and everything. So it's definitely a struggle, but you really have to find what works for you in the position that you're given. I mean, you can't complain because then somebody else is ready right behind you. So you have to find what works for you in, like I said, the position that you're given.
Yeah, so I kind of want to just go almost year by year, just from how you went from 80 to 88 to 90. So your first fall, you start learning kids, you start getting acclimated. You start to realize what you're in, what kind of situation you're in. So like in the winter, your freshman year, just talk about your winter freshman year and your spring freshman year, and how you went from walk on to earning innings slowly. Just briefly, it doesn't have to be anything crazy specific, just brief.
Well, from the winter, I just kept working hard. I knew what I had to do at that point. I knew that I had a lot of ground to gain because I obviously wasn't as talented as some of the guys on the team. So, yeah, I worked hard in the winter, and I just was patient in the spring. And like you said, I was a good teammate all the way through, and I think that really helped the team by not having that energy drain on the bench. But yeah, that definitely helped as far as getting better. I just had to be patient, and that was the toughest part because that motivated me even more to get better because I didn't like sitting on the bench as much as the next guy. So I just wanted to be on that mound in the big situation.
And freshman year, you impressed everybody, and everybody loved you once everybody got to know you, and everybody loved having you on the mound, and it was fun to play when you pitched. And then after freshman year, we go to the national championship game, and we're instantly sophomores, and it's all right. Like you're not fighting for a spot anymore. Like the spot's pretty much yours now. Like top bullpen starter, kind of hybrid. So talk about like that mindset when it's flipped and now you're kind of on the top, and especially in JUCO when you have 20 plus freshmen coming in who are now trying to take your spot. So just kind of talk about how you kind of stayed at the top of the team in terms of like just being one of our top guys on the staff.
Well, like I said before, I trusted the process. So what I learned the year before, I put it all to work. I mean, it was time to really bolster everything together as far as being a complete pitcher, and that was my goal in the sophomore year is to refine some of the things that I had to work on over the summer, and get stronger, get faster, just complete what I had started. And as far as the freshmen coming in, yeah, it was there was a lot that year, but as soon as we kind of got our team together, I knew that some of the guys needed a little bit of guidance, and I just like my freshman year, I kind of took some under my wing and showed them what good work ethic was and how to better the team without being that energy drainer guy. So yeah.
Yeah, and then so sophomore year in the spring, you're one of our top guys. You're throwing hard, you're throwing nasty stuff, and you're out of the bullpen for us a lot. And then halfway through the year, you were doing so well that they just put you in the starting role, which was huge. You did absolutely phenomenal for us as a starter. Every game you were going five, 6 innings in those 7 inning games, and you were getting a lot of strikeouts, and it was really awesome to watch. It was cool. It's been really awesome year by year to see how much you've improved and how much you've really earned as a player. So sophomore year, you're a bigger part of the team. You're a bigger part of our success. And then you have a great year, and as a starter and a reliever, you kind of did both. So you have a great year. You get recruited by East Stroudsburg, and you go there, and now you're a new kid on a really good team. It's not JUCO anymore. It's a really good Division II team. So kind of talk about how you got reacclimated again, and now you had to earn a spot on another new team because I transferred obviously too, and just because at a JUCO we went to a national championship game and we were really good there, that doesn't mean we just automatically get a spot at the new school. Like you have to earn it all over again. So kind of just talk about like doing it all over again, like having to earn a spot on that team.
So it was actually eerie how similar it was to walking on end trip as my freshman year, because that summer I stopped throwing for a week to give my arm a rest, and the summer started, and all of a sudden, boom, I got told that I was the day one or game one starter. So it was a bit of a jump right back into things, and I ended up actually getting some impingements that held me back for some of the summer, and I came back and it wasn't fully healed in the fall, and again I was 79 to 81. I was not impressed at all with my performances, and it was tough. It was tough because I had to reacclimate with a bunch of new guys on the team and show them what I had. But obviously, it's seeing sometimes is believing, and they didn't see it. So I put my head down and I went with what worked best, and I grinded. I went in the training room every day, try to get that worked out, and lo and behold, a few weeks later, I got back to where I was and even a little higher. I mean, it was awesome as far as that goes. And same thing over. I had to prove myself. Not the velo didn't just prove it. I had to prove during live ABs, my character. It's the whole new ball game all over again. And acclimating yourself with a team, I right off the bat, I started talk to people, get to know guys, try to build those relationships to be a good teammate and work for the common goal.
Yeah, so at end trip, you show up and there's kids better than you, and you show up at East Stroudsburg and there's some really good kids there too. Go through your kind of mindset of just like competing with kids that are kind of better than you. I know we talked about it a lot earlier, but if you could just kind of talk about how you kind of compete with those kids a little bit.
Well, you're there for a reason. So you can't let any other thought of doubt or anything else creep into your head. You're there for a reason. If you're not seeing the results that you would like to see compared to some of your teammates, and again, you got to work harder. You got to ask questions. There's a whole new chapter of different philosophies and training techniques from school to school. So there's a lot to learn and a lot of new pitchers. So like I said, you just got to be a student of the game, a sponge, if you will, because if you don't learn, then you're really staying stagnant, and that's not good in any case, because you never want to stay stagnant. You want to try to reach your full potential.
Yeah, all right. This one's a huge one. This one's a big deal. Talk about how playing with kids better than you makes you better.
Oh, when you see these guys perform and you see the mentality that they have when they step on the mound or step in the box, it's just a presence that you don't want to mess with. And that's huge. That you have to I don't even know how to explain it. It is huge. You have to learn from it, because if you don't, then you're going to step up and you're going to feel inferior. You have to be that presence on the mound or in the box, because it's just a game changer. When you're around these higher caliber, guys, it pushes you even more. I mean, you light a fire under your ass like never before. You want to work harder to get to that level, and once you're at that level, you want to surpass it. And
it's okay, and I almost encourage playing with kids that are a little better than you, or like you said, you kind of got under the wing of somebody, or finding someone that's just a little bit better than you or just a little bit stronger than you, so you have something to work for. If you're stronger than everybody else, or you're just throwing harder than everyone else, you really aren't working as hard. Like one of my favorite quotes, like the dog or the wolf like climbing the mountain is a lot hungrier than the one on top.
Right.
So I think it's really good to kind of be around kids that are better than you. And if you're one of those kids that can't deal with that, then you're not going to reach your full potential. Because if you think you're better than everyone else and you think you're already good, then you're not going to work as hard. But if you're chasing somebody, if you're chasing kids that are better than you, you're going to work way harder because you want to get there. And then, like you said, you want to surpass those people. So
absolutely.
Just a few more things before we wrap up. Talk about N-Trip. What was your favorite thing about it, and what made us so successful? Just combine the two. Like, what made us so successful? What do you think was the best part?
Um, the friendships. I mean, the relationship that we had with each other was incredible. How we made that relationship in 1 year. I think about it all the time. I mean, you could be on a team with people for 4 years and you can't build that kind of relationship. We all meshed together because we all
I
wanted
agree.
one thing. We all wanted one thing, and I don't think there was anybody that didn't get along for the most part. I mean, everybody has their tiffs here and there, but you get over them, and in the end, you're a family. That's what I loved about JUCO. And I mean, the learning experiences that everybody had their lows. My freshman year, I don't think I would be here right now if it weren't for my freshman year. And that's the basis of junior college as it is.
Yeah, I talked about it on the Hot Corner podcast last time when I was on there with Ronnie Burnick. It doesn't make sense when you say it out loud. But the more you care about your teammates and the more you care about the team and how you can help the team, it will absolutely skyrocket your game.
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't believe it. I was like, that doesn't make sense. I was like, I don't really understand that. When I was a freshman, I was like, I don't really get that. Like, how is me rolling over to second base to move a runner or laying down a bunt? Like, how is that making me, how is that going to get me a scholarship? Or how is like one bunt gonna make the difference in us being a national champion or not? And that was just so dumb of me. It was so stupid. And so many kids go into programs and think that way. Like I got to be the guy that hits the doubles and the home runs. It drives everybody in. But it's not that way at all. And I'm a victim of it too. I'm a huge victim of it, of not being a selfless teammate. In my freshman year during the spring, when I just said, you know what, like, it's not about me. It's about what my role is on the team, and it's about what I'm going to do to help us get to the World Series and get to the national championship game. And that's when I started playing really freaking well, is when I just said, like, you know what, it's not about me. It's about the team. Like, every time I step in the box, it's what does the team need?
Exactly.
And the faster you get that, it's trust me, like, it doesn't really make sense right now if you're like a high school kid or you're a young college kid. The faster you can just say, I'm going to do whatever I can to help the team, you're going to be so much better off for it. And I promise you, if you start training that way, if you start training, if you're in the weight room or you want to skip a workout, but in your head you're thinking that's not going to help the team, or you're not going to do your recovery, or you're not going to ice or whatever, just think in your head, like, that's not going to help the team. And whatever's not going to help the team is going to make you worse. I guarantee it. Whatever you do, whatever action you take that's for the team, it's going to help you individually as well. And I can't really stress enough about that at all. How just being selfless and being a good teammate and helping other people is going to help your personal game take off. And it really doesn't sound like it makes a whole lot of sense, but I promise it does. If you start being selfless and you start trying to be a good teammate, you're going to realize real fast that it helped you too by being positive and helping other people. Because if, like, you don't want to let your teammates down, you don't want to be the guy that lets your teammates down. So if you're doing what's best for the team, you're going to be a lot better off individually than if you're the guy that says, like, it's not I'm the best for the team, it's everybody's best for the team.
Right.
And that's what was so awesome about N-Trip, was not one kid on the whole roster that year, freshman year, was I'm going to get us to the World Series. It was, no, like, we're all going to do it. And every single kid on that team, from the number 1 guy to the number 40 kid on the roster, just bought in and was like, you know what, like I'm not going to be the guy. Like we're all going to be the guy. Like we're all going to do it. Everybody's going to do it. Like everybody's got a part. And that's when everybody started playing well. That's when we played our best baseball, was when everybody kind of said, you know what, I'm just going to help the team. And when you start having that mindset, like I'm just going to help the team, I'm going to help us win, I'm going to do whatever I can to help us win, you're going to find out super, super fast that your average is higher, your ERA is way lower, you're throwing harder, not because you're doing it because like you just want to be better individually, but because you're doing it for your team, you're doing it for your teammates, you're doing it for your coaches, your parents, your family. Like you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for other people, and you're gonna realize really fast that being selfless and being a good teammate is going to make you better individually just by process of doing that. So
Right.
I think that's a huge point. So
Yeah.
kind of,
Go ahead.
oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. I was gonna just move on to East Stroudsburg, but go ahead.
Well,
We'll do that
I
after.
just wanted to add on to that a little bit. I think ego gets in the way of that a lot because, like you said, everybody wants to be that doubles and home run guy. But how often do you watch any sort of baseball game where everybody's hitting a home run in a lineup? I mean, it doesn't happen. So yeah, you're gonna have to have those guys that get on base through a walk. You got to work walks. You got to work counts. Yada yada. And same thing with pitching. I mean, you can't go 9 innings every time you step on a mound. So you have to be able to rely on your teammates. And when you're a good teammate, then they're able to rely on you as well, and that just builds that strong connection. You don't feel like the weight of the entire game's on your shoulders and the need to overproduce. So yeah, your game certainly elevates.
Yeah. So now just go into what made you guys so successful at East Stroudsburg. What makes you guys such a good team, and maybe what's similar, what's different about N-Trip than East Stroudsburg, because they're a really good program too. They're fantastic. So if you could just talk about like some similarities or differences about what makes you guys good at that program.
So yeah, again, some similarities. We're kind of like a family. We all have this common goal, and we realize that we have talent, and it's about putting it all together. Nobody is bigger than the team, and we all bought into that, and it certainly showed this year. Some different. I think it's a little bit more structured in the training and practices. Uh, that comes with going from the NJCAA to NCAA, but yeah, there's a lot of similarities, a lot of differences, but either way, I think that we just bought in and we train as a group. We hang out all together, like everybody gets along, and we have a common goal. So the relationships really start to build during the games. It's a long season, so yeah.
What what are the most important things you've learned about being a college athlete?
Most important things, I'd say two, and I don't want to lose track, but the first is the lows are actually the highs, because without the lows, you're not going to have the highs. If you're doing decent all the time, that's not a thing. You're going to have some lows. So it's how you come back from those lows. I've had a significant amount of lows, and let me tell you, that made me a better pitcher and a better person each time over. I mean, you ask yourself why. Like, why did that happen to me? I don't understand. I've prepped all the right ways. I've done everything that I could do, but it just happens. It's baseball, man. Like any given day, you can get rocked off a mound, or you could go 0 for 3 with 3 Ks. It's really how the chips fall. So yeah, it's how you bounce back from that. If you're keeping a good head, if you're just forgetting, I mean, you go to bed with it, and you got to wake up the next morning ready to rock. Um,
Yeah,
and
whatever you got, throw it out there.
and then the last one, I'd say you have to you don't want to overtrain, because I kind of started to overtrain there in sophomore year towards the end. I said I was doing 2-a-days, and my eating, it was maybe a little too restricted. I wasn't getting the caloric intake that I should have been. So I went to East Stroudsburg, and they train about, I don't know, 3 times a week with other, cardio and sprints mixed in. But I just kind of abided by that for a while just to see if it worked. And I kept my nutrition up to date. Like, I mean, I ate enough calories, I got enough sleep, I drank enough water. And again, I found some spike in velo, and I felt better. My body felt better. So yeah, you don't want to overtrain, but you also don't want to undertrain. You got to find that happy medium, and it's all about trial and error and seeing it on the mound or in the box.
Yeah, so we'll get you out on these last few points here. Just uh, I just want to stress just what we talked about for the last hour. Like he CJ went from a walk on to a D2 standout player who threw 80 and is now throwing 88 to 90. And it's been so awesome. And I really have never told you it personally, and you're one of my best friends, and I probably should have, but I don't tell you shit like that because I want you to work harder. But it's been cool to see how from where you started to where you are now, and you earned all of it, and it's been so cool to see that you've earned it. And if you when you weren't throwing hard or you weren't getting innings, you did something to fix it. You did something different. You changed something. You worked harder. You outperformed yourself. You tried to compete with other kids on the team. You always learned everything. You were talking to everybody. You asked questions. You asked Kling everything. You're always trying to find out how you can get better. You're always on YouTube and Google and asking everybody everything. And I think it's awesome. I think we cover a lot of good stuff. That's just keep grinding for what you want. Trust the process. Results aren't always going to be where you want. Like you just said, lows are good. Lows can crush you, or they can launch you. Lows can crush you if you don't take them the right way. But like he said, you don't have those highs if you don't bounce back from the lows that you have. And I thought that was a really good point. It's been awesome. He's going back for what'd you say? COVID redshirt year.
Oh yeah, coronavirus redshirt.
COVID redshirt year. I'm hoping for some big things next year. He's already been doing big things, and just the big takeaway is freshman year walk on. You know what? Like I need to work harder. I need to figure it out um, to spring freshman year. Earned a few innings here and there. Started carving himself a role. Sophomore year, worked really hard. Didn't see the results he wanted right away, but he stuck with it. He kept working hard. Sophomore year, became one of our best guys, a starter, and out of the bullpen, one of our best pitchers. Earned a D2 scholarship to one of the best D2s in the country. Went there, saw some struggles, even though he was working super hard still. I have proof that he worked really hard. I used to catch flats and bullpens and stuff for him all the time. I used to drive 20 minutes every day in the summer to go long toss with him every day. I took a few sinkers off the leg, got some bruises on me from it. The kid grinds. Junior year, new school, stuck with it, just like sophomore year at East Stroudsburg, stuck with it, earned a role. Going into this year was going to be a huge role guy for them in the bullpen. And unfortunately, the season got canceled, which stinks because I really thought you guys were going to do some big things. You were really doing some great things. If you want to, just for like a few seconds, talk about kind of college summer ball and summer leagues. Just a last point.
Yeah.
If you want, just like
Yeah,
what's good about them, what's bad about them.
So it really depends on the situation you're in. If you think that as a high schooler that you're good enough to play college ball, then absolutely you go to a big old summer league and you get recruited, and that's what you do. But if you're one of the guys that like I was, and you think that you need to grind a little bit more, and you could walk on somewhere, then I would take some time. I would go to a little bit lesser of a summer league, more of a 2 or 3 games a week league, and I would grind in the weight room. I would get better however you could, and ultimately it'll pay off because you're going to save your arm a little bit and you're going to get better in the process. For the college guys, I stayed home for not my first summer, but my second summer. I stayed home in the NYCBL, and I thought that was really cool. It was a nice taste of one of the big summer leagues. It was a lot of games, but I was still able to visit with my family and kind of get some stuff done. And this last summer, I went down to the Wilson Tobbs in the Coastal Plains League, and that was an experience that I'm very glad that I had because, no, I wasn't trying to get recruited for a college, but I was trying to elevate my game that much more, and it really gave me a chance to play with some D1 guys, D2 guys, NAI guys, and it really, again, elevated my game because I went in not knowing what to expect, and it again hit me hard. So I grinded and I got better throughout the course of the season, and I knew that I was better coming out of it. So it really depends on the situation that you're in.
Anything else you'd like to add before we finish up? Any advice, anything you want to say? This is your time to just say whatever you want.
I'm just going to leave it as don't give up. If you see a plateau or you hit rock bottom, don't give up because the sun will shine on another day and you always have room to grow. So keep at it.
Yeah. I think this was really awesome. I think a lot of kids need to listen to this and just realize that everybody starts in a different spot, but where you end up is based on what you do. It's based on your actions. And you know what, like kids might be better than you or more talented, but you can always work harder. Like he said, there are no days off if you want to be good. If you want to be successful and you want to be a great athlete, there's no such thing as a day off. And a day off doesn't, or like, it doesn't have to be a workout 7 days a week, but every day you have to be doing something to get better somehow. Like he said, there's no days off. He trained a day. There's always a way. He trained a different way. He trained his training regimen to help his quick twitch muscles. He's been through it all. He's been through a ton of stuff. He's had different roles. Just like we talked about the whole time here, how he went from 80 to 88 plus to not that many innings to a huge crucial role guy. So like CJ's he's just a grinder, and I think more kids need to be like CJ, and it's been really cool to see your progress over the last few years. So thanks for coming on the Complete Game Podcast. You gave it the name.
Thanks for having me.
You can find CJ on Twitter at CJ16Gons. Give him a follow. And thanks again for coming on. I think this was really cool. I'm going to try and share it as much as I can everywhere, and hopefully we can get a bunch of people to listen to it. I think it was really awesome.
Yeah, I think you made a lot of good points, and that was an excellent interview.
It's not about me. It's about you. This whole thing's about you. It's not about me. This is about you.
Yeah.